Welcome to the Get It Done podcast. I'm your host, Jimi Ryan, helping people overcome adversity to achieve their dreams. Let's get it done. The Get It Done podcast is sponsored by Team Get It Done. They say it takes a village, and when it comes to closing on a mortgage loan, it takes a team to get it done. Team Get It Done, the whole team, is a group of licensed loan officers with over 10 years of experience that are bilingual, taking you from application to pre-approval to accepted offer, and accepted offer all the way to closing. Trust Team Get It Done to get it done. Go to teamgetitdone.com, hit apply, follow the steps, get your Team Get It Done pre-approval. That's teamgetitdone.com. All right, so today we have one of my good friends, Tonny Romero. Tonny is a leader, young thought leader, another young thought leader in the space of real estate. He is the CEO of Proper Worth Real Estate, and you're actually leading this event called the Hustle Harder Real Estate event in February. And like, brother, I'm just super pumped to have you on. Is there anything maybe I missed in my very brief edification of you?
No, definitely not. I mean, I'm really appreciative to be on here. I do have a few other businesses that we can kind of touch up on during the podcast, and maybe talk a little bit about the event and what to expect.
Well, for sure. Well, we were talking a little bit offline, and you do have your hand in a lot of different things. So, like, you were mentioning me, like, you have a food truck. I mean, like, what don't you have a hand in? What are your main businesses that you're running out of right now?
So right now we have a pet grooming salon that I'm an investor in. My wife is actually my partner in that business. So real estate kind of took me from not being in a position where I was just making a regular income to being able to pay for her entire schooling and put together a really nice pet grooming salon, all custom made. Um, I also have a taco truck, and we're building our second one right now. That's going to be coming out in the spring. Really, really good. 68th and State, if anybody's ever in Milwaukee. And then we have a wholesaling business, which is mostly our primary business. We do a lot of transactions on a regular basis. So we deal with a lot of cash buyers. Generally, our transactions are always in cash. We can dig a little bit more into what that means later. We have a car flipping business as well. Right now for the winter, it's not up and running. It's more so a summer type of business, but we were flipping anywhere from 5 to 7 cars a month. And we can save the rest for later.
My goodness, brother. I mean, you're busy, man. So I want to talk about the Hustle Harder real estate event. I want to just get that piece out of the way. So you have a lot of pretty epic people coming to this event, and I'm sure you're just super proud of it. Is this the first event that you've ever put together? I know, like, your venue is pretty awesome too. I've been there for a few different events, and man, I'm looking forward to coming to it. Tell us just like a little bit about it. What can the person that attends this event expect to get out of it?
Well, just not in terms of getting out of it, we want everybody to walk out with actionable steps. That's one of our primary focuses. So not only just getting in the information, but having the tools and having the right strategies to go out and change certain things within your business or start a business and be proactive with it. As well as the connections, just how you got Team Get It Done as a sponsor, and they work together, to accomplish a goal. Real estate can get lonely, and there are a lot of things that can go wrong when you are in the business. So just having people around you to be able to lean on is really good. So being at this event and being able to network with like-minded individuals, that's a really powerful tool to just be able to be successful within the industry. It's all about giving. If you can give a little bit and they can give back, you guys can both win together and continue to rise. And that's all it really should be. So we just wanted to put a lot of like-minded individuals together, give information. I think one of our biggest things for this is I went to Marquette High School, which is a very expensive high school in Wisconsin. My parents had to sacrifice a lot for me and my brother to go there. I learned nothing about business. I learned nothing about LLCs, partnerships, structuring, um, ideas, anything like that. So even me going to a really high end school, still not learning any of that. I can only imagine what a public school or a school in an area that's not so great is teaching. So we wanted to bring that information to Milwaukee. I travel a lot. I go to a lot of events. I invest into a lot of events and masterminds, and I've gotten to speak at a lot of events across the country. But I'm always having to fly out. I'm never able to just be here and soak that information up. And in the process of actually putting our event together, I'm a guy that loves to study things. So I actually signed up for a few events on Eventbrite, on Facebook events, and I went and I walked through a few different events. I paid for some just to see what they were doing, see what people liked. And honestly, I don't think our event's even going to be able to compare even slightly to those, because we are going to put on an amazing show, an amazing experience, and we just want to see other people win and want to see them have that education. So we reached out to a few buddies. They're actually some of the best in the country, not only in terms of numbers, but as well as just being able to give that value, and are open minded that way. And this kind of came about. It didn't start as a big event, it started as a little workshop we were going to put together just to bring some education. Reached out to a few guys. They said yes. So we went higher. They said yes. We went higher, and they said yes. So it just became something a lot bigger. And now we want to make sure that it's 110% worth it for everybody that comes.
Brother, you have like, I don't know, is there like 20 speakers? How many speakers do you have at this event?
There's 13, I believe. So we have quite a big lineup, which is amazing. We're touching on every single strategy from short sales development, subject to seller finance. We have a broker from New York that did $60 million in sales last year. Um, hard money development, if I haven't mentioned that, wholesaling, wholetailing, flipping, burrs. So every different speaker has their own strategy that has made them more successful than the others. Every entrepreneur that's coming is actually a serial entrepreneur. Like, we try to bring the absolute best of the best. So yeah, we just want to put together an event where people could come and say, I'm really not sure what I want to do in real estate. I know that I like real estate, or I know that it makes money. What strategy is for me? A lot of times an event is focused on one strategy, and we wanted to be able to let that attendee figure out what's the right path for them. Because I personally think that a lot of people get into real estate not because they want to, not because they like it, but because they know it works and they know it can create financial freedom for them.
Brother, that's
So
so true. I mean, you're 100% right. I think that's literally why everybody gets into it, because why else would you?
right.
I mean, brother, it's a grind. It's tough. It is tough to be successful in mortgage. It is tough to be successful in insurance, in financial planning, and real estate's. I mean, how much? It's a revolving door. How many people get into it, think they're going to make $1 million, and then get out of it? But like, if you're going to persevere, it's because you see that future to it, brother. I'm really looking forward to going and picking up a couple things. And here we have a couple, past people that we've interviewed on the show that are going. We were talking offline. I'm just thinking you're thinking about serial entrepreneurs. I think right away, I think Jesse Garcia, and he's just such a badass dude. So I want to jump right into this. Look, I can't endorse this event enough. I'm personally attending, and I'm looking forward to learning a lot. These are some pretty epic guests, and I encourage everybody to go there. We'll have some notes in the podcast description about where you can go to sign up and get a ticket. And all right, so the Get It Done podcast is all about the come up story. We have people that have a story from 1 million to 1 billion, and that's a great story. But what we're really looking for is the come up story, the overcoming adversity to achieve your dreams. So, best place to start out with, Tony, is where were you born? What were your parents like? What was early childhood looking like for you?
Wow, this is interesting. I've been on so many podcasts and never gotten asked this question. Well, when my parents came here to this country illegally. They came here as immigrants, and my childhood, I definitely can say it was a good childhood. It wasn't, negative by any means, but that was because my parents really put in that hard work to make my brother and I comfortable within America. I was born at St. Mary's Hospital here downtown in Milwaukee, so I've been in Milwaukee my entire life. Actually, up until really when I got into real estate, I didn't really start traveling, and I've now been able to see so many different, not really countries, but just states around the country that I've never been to, like California, Arizona, Texas, Atlanta, and so on. Um, but yeah, I mean, I they came from America illegally. When they arrived here, they actually lived in a home in the south side of Milwaukee. I think we're like 17 people that lived in that home. And most people were sleeping, on the ground. Eventually, my parents had enough to buy a mattress, and one thing I can never, ever, ever forget is that they used to have to hide the tortillas because obviously you guys know Hispanics eat a lot of tortillas with their meals. They had to hide them under the couch, not the couch, the mattress, to make sure that while they were at work, nobody was going to steal their food. So it was literally to that degree. They came here with absolutely nothing. They knew no English. Um, and so, they worked their way up. I think their first job was Old Country Buffet. So that was in the family for a long time. And, it was a grind for them. And they set a really good example for me, to the success that I have now. But that's just how it was. And, we had the most minimal stuff kind of growing up, but it was okay. Like it was never really anything bad for us. And then my mom became an entrepreneur, and that's actually how we kind of got out of that hole. And she got into Mary Kay sales. She actually, because of that, was able to buy my dad a DJ. So he kind of had like a side hustle to do that was not just working all day for an hourly pay, more so of like a commission or a set price. So that was a pretty cool experience for him. And my mom used to take my brother and I. We were both little kids, and my dad has worked 2 full-time jobs even till this day since he came. So 23 years. He's worked 60 plus hours every single week of in the last 16 years. He's never late to work. He never asks off. So he's just like one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. But my mother got into Mary Kay sales, and she moved her way up very quickly. Um, it wasn't easy in the beginning because she didn't know people, but she started where she could, which was the Hispanic community. My mom's a really cool, sweet person, probably one of the sweetest people I know. So because she knew that people in the South Side were in the same conditions that we were, she would allow customers to pay in payments, which is not really something you generally see that often. So that also led to a lot of people owing her money, of course, but it just kind of paved the way for her to do more business within the South Side. Um, and one thing that I can't forget as well is that my brother and she used to take us with her because my dad was working all the time. And we would cry, we would fuss, we would not want to be there. We were just little kids, so she had to go through all of that while going house to house and making sure that all her presentations were good, her sales were good. And it was just, again, a hustle and a grind. So she just set a really good example for me. Over time, she really, really grew into the business. At one point, she was the top sales lady in Wisconsin. So um now it's a whole different story. They live a fairly good life, and that's kind of a little bit more on the background of it.
Wow, that's really incredible. I'm really glad that we started this out with this. Being an illegal immigrant coming to the United States has got to be, I mean, I'm just thinking about it. Like, it's got to be one of the most, that is what the Get It Done podcast is all about. It's overcoming adversity to achieve your dreams. And you said that your dad, my goodness, what an inspiration your dad is to be working 60 plus hours and, never missing a day of work. And I'm sure he wears it with like a badge of pride, and good of you to see that too. Cause I think that a lot of times kids growing up in an environment where, mom or dad is super successful or just like, they're grinding, they're working, they can get entitled or, think that, well, mom and dad's working, I don't have to. And quite the opposite. They saved up for you to go to Marquette. My goodness.
Yeah.
That's like, that's huge. That's like, I want my kid to be like, I want to give him the best of the best. And for you to take it and run with it and not just like squander it is it's something to say about you, but I'm sure that that's the values that they've instilled in you: hard work, is going to get you there. I want to actually talk about this too. My goodness, Mary Kay being #1 in Wisconsin. I mean, how do you not become like a serial entrepreneur with your mother doing that, and then taking you and your bro to it? That's just that's just incredible too. So, was life? I guess. Do you remember life living on like sleeping on the floor with 17 other people in the house? Do you remember life back then, or was that kind of just like how they started? When did you come into the picture?
I did come into the picture somewhat close to the end of that. I haven't really had time to go back and fully think about this aspect. So another good question, but I can't really remember my childhood past like 13. So I did read a book. You can't learn to ride a bike at a seminar, and it's a sales book. It's actually one of the best sales books out there. And it kind of talks about maybe usually when you can't remember past that, there might have been some sort of traumatic, thing that happened around then. So I can't fully remember it. I've seen some pictures, but I just honestly can't remember past that age. So I just know that it wasn't a bad childhood. I knew I was a bad kid. My mom has told me multiple times, I like to beat up other kids. But she always ended up teaching me right. If anything, my mom is probably the one that really set the example for you have to be respectful. You never steal. My mom actually used to back when we were older, my brother and I, she used to leave a lot of because she handled a lot of her business in cash. Not all the time, but a lot of people do pay in cash for certain products or orders, especially now we're in the credit card, debit card age, but back then it was a little bit different. She would leave a lot of cash, two, three, $4,000 on the kitchen table, but she'd leave it in different quantities: $1 bills, $5 bills, $10 bills. She always knew how much was there. And what she would do is she'd leave it there for days and just count it every single day to make sure to see if we would steal the money off the table. And she actually, we didn't know until, maybe years later that she kind of explained it to us, but we never took a single dollar off the table. And she just really set a good example for making sure we were never doing anything bad and keeping us on the right track. Um, they also actually sacrificed a lot just to put us into a good school. My brother and I, from fourth grade up, we were at St. John the Evangelist, which is again a private school, which is again not a very cheap school either. It's about $2,500 a year or something like that per student. So they did a lot for us to go there, and then from there to Marquette. And so I want to say I'm very thankful for that. I didn't really use a lot of school for what I'm doing now, but as far as what school taught me and how it formed me, I did take a lot from that. And I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for the path that I went through.
Wow, bro, that's so much I could dig into with that. I really love what you said, how she would leave money on the table. That's actually something my grandmother used to do, and she actually immigrated from Italy. She was the last person in the family that was on the boat. But anyway, she would leave and grew up poor, grew up with nothing, like on welfare. And she would leave $1 bill or a $20 bill out. And what she did it for was to see, okay, who can I trust? And you find out very quickly who you can trust if you leave a $20 bill out. Oh, no, I didn't take it. But you know who was in the house and
Yeah.
knew the $20 was there. She would leave it on the stairs and people
Wow.
would have to like walk over it. And it's funny you said she left it in quantities and she would count it. That's just I mean, but good of you to. That's cool that she trusted you guys and then actually verified.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, how do you know? And brother, you went to St. John's. That's so funny because that's right here in Delafield. I want to move on. So actually, no, I want to go back to this. So you said 8 to 13. You kind of you passed the 13. You don't really remember. A good friend of mine, Rene Rodriguez, he talks about this as his event Amplify. He says that a lot of times we, as people, are. Wow, now I'm going to total brain fart and butcher this quote while we're recording, of course. A lot of times, everything that we do is to here's what it is. We do things subconsciously to either honor our past or to heal our past. And a lot of times that that past is something that happens between 8 to 13. And it's funny that you mentioned that, like, hey, it's kind of like a blur before then. I, I'm not saying dig into it, because maybe it's not the best thing to dig into, but also a lot of times that's a great source of power if you can tame those, those old feelings. I had to mention that to you because if you don't remember it, maybe it's something worthwhile looking into. So fast forward us. So we're in St. John's. St. John's a military academy. I mean, and you go there and you're whipped into shape, So what was high school like for you? What were those years like? What was your first job? What was your first car?
My first car was a Lincoln, what is it called? ML. I can't remember the exact model, but MKZ. I think no, one of those. I think it might have been an MKZ, but it was a Lincoln. It was a really good, really nice Lincoln, and back for that time, it was a really good car. My parents, again, they really just sacrificed a lot for my brother and I to have a life that they didn't. So even if they maybe didn't have the best vehicles, they make sure that we could get to school safely. So they always put us first, no matter what.
Wow.
High school it was. I actually didn't get into Marquette right away. I had to take the or take an additional test and go to summer school. Worked really hard to get into Marquette because only about 1/4 of the people that apply actually get in, and so I had to take that summer and go and do some extra classes with them, and then I officially got in. I remember actually back, before then I had never tried out for sport before, not fully where you get cut. So tried out for soccer, got cut. That was pretty harsh feeling. Wasn't the best feeling. I know I made it past the first 2 days, so I was at least happy about that. But Marquette's a really crazy school when it comes to sports. It's very competitive. That's why a lot of people go to that school because of their sports. So, um, yeah, I mean, high school was it's a really good school. I have nothing extremely bad to say about the actual school. I think that if I had kids, I would definitely send them there because I think that it's 100% worth it. The only things that are a bit hard is being Hispanic and being at a pretty much a wealthy white school, majority. You do get picked on. You do kind of have your cliques here and there of who's who. So there is a lot of kind of that, um, a lot of things that you have to maybe act a certain way or act differently just to be able to fit in. So you're not always 100% yourself. I think if you're a minority there, if you are, you're kind of outcasted a little bit. It's just kind of, part of the high school times and, what people go through because you're dealing with other people that are your age and maybe haven't fully developed yet and, aren't necessarily all the way mature. So, kind of football people have their area and, all the different sports are in their own area. So you do feel a little bit being a minority at Marquette. I felt not like I was like fully accepted right from the get-go. Like I had to be or act a certain way in order for me to be more accepted or be able to sit with certain people at the
Do you
lunch
think
table.
do you think that that gives you an advantage? I mean, a lot of times, here I interview a great guy in the mortgage space. His name's Dave Savage. He says, I was kind of complaining to him and lamenting to him about how people give people the label of ADD and dyslexia. And I'm like, I was like, look, is this a helpful thing, to label people this? And he literally like right off the bat hit me with, I think any adversity that you overcome is good for you. And I'm just reminded of that quote as you're saying that. Do you think that, because brother, like, look at you, you're literally making an event where, like, I'm sorry, but outcast or not,
Yeah.
outcast or not, you're getting a ton of people into the same room, and people are coming to listen to you, and the people that you're inviting. Do you think that played a role, that piece of overcoming that adversity to be successful now?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I learned very quickly is all the adversity that hit throughout my entire life really just taught me that nothing's going to come easy. And sometimes but it also taught me like there's always a way to get what you want or to get to where you need, you want to be. And it just taught me to think differently. I'm a guy that loves to think. So I'm always thinking business now. And I think that just comes with the responsible entrepreneur. And I'm always thinking of, how do I make more money? How do we go faster? How do we? Because I like thinking and moving at lightning speed. I like making decisions quickly. I try to wear black a lot now too, just to kind of fit that role of not having to make so many decisions on even just picking up my clothes. Just put whatever on. Let's get to work and let's make money and let's scale this business. Let's train people better. So it helped me, I think a lot quicker on my feet. Um, yeah, I mean, I think those are more so like the points on there. It also taught me to. I've always been a guy. I think that I picked this up from my mom. I've always been a guy that cared about people. Like, I don't like to see people in bad situations, and when people are emotionally, or usually more so emotionally or physically hurt, I feel like I need to be in the position to defend them or to be there for them, even if I don't know them. I've actually never said this ever to, even on my stories, my podcast, or to anybody, but if I see somebody on the side of the road needs to change their tire, I'm that guy that no matter where I'm supposed to go, I stop. I've probably done it several dozen times. And I think that that stemmed from Milwaukee now that, or sorry, from Marquette now that I think about it. I had my, I think it was either my Lincoln or a Mercedes, because I got a Mercedes later on, which I still have from my father, but I got a Lincoln or a Mercedes, and I was at Marquette and my tire got slashed or it popped or something happened. And I was in the parking lot with nobody around. I had no idea how to change a tire. And this guy was an Asian gentleman. He was picking up his son. He was in a full suit, really nice BMW X5, really nice suit. Gets out of his car and says, do you need some help with that? And of course, I see him in a suit. I'm like, nah, I'm okay. And I was in the Marquette parking lot, so he knew I was a student. Gets out of his car and not only helped me change my tire, but teaches me everything to it. So, like, hey, here's where it goes. This is where, here's where you have to pump. If you pump over, if you move the cat, we call it gato in Spanish. So if you move the cat over, then you're gonna punch a hole through the car. So you have to make sure it's on the metal. So not only did he teach me, he did it, and he was, on his suit in his knees, didn't care about anything, about getting his suit dirty or anything. He was laying on the ground. So I think that's kind of where it came from. Like, I was in a time of need, and this guy who I didn't really think would even help if I even asked him to, literally, messed up his own entire suit just to be able to, to help me change my tire. And I feel like that's kind of where maybe it came from a bit.
Wow, what a cool story. And I mean, and you don't even know this guy's name, and
No.
it's just like, and here he is, he's changed you in a way where you're talking about it on a podcast years and years later. How cool is that? And I mean, what if that's the people that you've helped? How easy is it to really pay it forward and leave a ripple effect down the road? Brother, that's fire. You mentioned soccer. I don't know if that's like a big part of your life, or that high school really is at all. I'm not really sure that, like you mentioned, hey, I don't really use anything I learned in high school for any of the businesses, that I'm running. Is that actually true? Am I putting words in your mouth, or would you agree with that?
No, I think that's right. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't really think that I pick up on a lot of those things. Um, can you just rephrase the question a little bit?
Well, yeah. So I mean, like, do you? I mean, here, did soccer have any impact on you?
Gotcha. I mean, getting cut definitely did. I feel like everything in your life just kind of gives you a better idea of like what of the reality of what can happen. So it really set an expectation of, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was really cocky at soccer, when it came to soccer. Getting cut, it hurt because I thought I was gonna make it. I thought I was good enough to make it. So it really set an example to me to say, hey, look, you're good, but you're not great, or you're not necessarily going to fit in everywhere. So you have to try harder. You have to grind harder. So, definitely, I think in that aspect, it definitely helped.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean but that's like the point, and you have to experience loss at a certain point in your life. You're not gonna make it at every little last thing that you do. And I would argue that it's through failure that you learn the most, and it's not through success, really. I mean, a lot of times if you're super successful and it's easy, you're gonna get soft, you're gonna get weak, and then all of a sudden you're gonna lose. At some point, you're gonna lose. And it'd have been much better to have failed a lot of things to make that an easier blow. So we're gonna move forward to, all right, so high school's over, you graduate. Did you go to college? Did you have any interest in college? What was next for you after high school?
So I did not go to college. I didn't feel like college was the route for me. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I just didn't think it was for me. Marquette's a very, very hard school academically. It's very rigorous. It's very challenging. Exams are really, really tough. You get a lot of homework. Hours, 3 to 5 hours a day of homework. So you have to be on your feet a lot. It just really, I felt like my grades weren't at the level where I would be successful in college, to where my parents are really strict. My mom, especially, they had to sacrifice a lot for me to do everything that I've had the opportunity of doing. So, um, I really hate to cut you off here, but since this isn't live, correct?
No.
So because it's not live, do you mind? I really apologize, but my computer is dying.
Do you have to plug it in?
Yes.
Here, hang on. Let's I'll edit.
I apologize.
Go ahead and plug it in. This is going to be edited anyway. I'm going to just mark the time. So
thank you. I do apologize. It's not happened before.
It's all good. This is great. I love this. I might even leave this on. This is a conversation, brother. So all right, as Tony, plugs in his computer over here. What we like to do on the Get It Done podcast is really talk about unedited stories. I mean, the truth is that things happen and we kind of have to roll with it. But if you're going to just give up on a recording because, power or internet or whatever it is, I don't know. I think that you should just persevere, keep it going. But I did make a note of the time stamp because I do have an excellent production team. The Kyle Draper team, Coach Kyle Draper, has an amazing team of people that are going to cut this up into a lot of different cool pieces. I'm already excited, brother, to really just put a couple of your quotes up.
I am here. Thank you, and I apologize.
Hey, brother, no, that's fine. So I think that we got some good content there anyway on what happens after high school. And it seems as though, like, look, you learned a lot in high school. It was a very rigorous curriculum. I wanted to follow up. What was your GPA? By the way, I have to say, before you even say, I'll tell you mine. I barely graduated high school, so I'm not even ashamed to admit it. I think my GPA was like 2.5 or something like that. What was it? I want to know.
It was like a 2.1, 2.3, so it wasn't great.
The thing is, though, is that I think Elon Musk says this. Maybe it's another like enormous entrepreneur, billionaire type of guy, but it's the people that have the C averages that run companies and employ A averages.
Wow,
so
I love that.
And brother, that's you. I mean, it really is something that look, school isn't for everybody, and school a lot of times teaches you to kind of fall in line. It teaches you to kind of like follow this, this path to be like, not everybody can be a doctor or a lawyer, and there's only a certain amount of people that are going to do that. There's entrepreneurs, though, and you don't really get taught to be an entrepreneur in any sort of school. I would argue even college. You can get a business degree, but that teaches you how to fill out the paperwork to start a business. It doesn't teach you how to run a business, to lead a business, to lead people. And that's what you're getting into right now. So I guess what did you do? What was your first job right out of high school? And where'd you build from there?
So right out of high school, I actually started working at 16 right away. Summer of, at 16 years old, even though I was, in school, Once summer came, I worked at Applebee's and I worked there full time. I became like the youngest cook at Applebee's because my uncle was a general manager there, and he ended up implement. He saw that I was a good cook, so he ended up trying to implement that within the Applebee's franchise, and he did. So that was a pretty proud moment for me. But I would work all day. I mean, I was working 40 to 60 hours. It was just something that I loved. I'm a very fast paced person. I love to have really good quality on everything that I do because that's my name on there. Um, and I just I like goals. So like if certain things are expected to be done at a specific pace, I like beating that. Like I'm always trying to beat the competition. I'm very competitive. So I was always just a very, very good cook. And from there I had multiple other jobs. I actually, I couldn't name them all, but there's a lot of them. I had 16 jobs from 16 to 21,
But
which is
maybe highlights. List a couple of them. Your favorite ones, or the ones you learned the most from.
Sweet Diner, Applebee's. I worked at 5 or 6 different Applebee's, but I'm just counting that as one. I worked at Hollister. I worked at AWG, which is a third shift company where you're loading and unloading trucks. I worked at GFS. I think it's GFS. Yeah, GFS, Gordon's Food Service.
Yeah.
Back in their warehouse over in Kenosha. I worked at Toast down in downtown Milwaukee. Uh, where else? I worked for Ambrosia, which is a decoration company, events planning company. Where else? There's one the Stilt House in Cedarburg. I worked down there as a cook as well. I think I said Sweet Diner, but if I haven't, I worked there too. I'm trying to think of where else I worked at.
I mean, you're busy. Did you work any of these at the same time?
Yes, I was always picking up multiple jobs at the same time. I liked in the summers I would do 2 full-time jobs. During school I would do so I usually like back in like or junior year of high school, I'd go to work at 9 p.m. so I could be there at 10 in Kenosha. I'd work from 10 till 4 or 5 in the morning. And then I'd come back, shower, go to school. And then from there, sometimes I'd pick up a small side job and then I'd sleep for a few hours, try to get some homework in, and then go start the thing all over again. So I was just really, really, I don't think I loved working. I did love working. It was just like I loved I'm always full of adrenaline. It just doesn't stop ever. So it was never really hard for me. Like I love doing stuff fast and beating everybody else. And I love being up for long hours and getting very little sleep. I don't know why. But I think more so than anything, I was in love because my parents came from nothing. I was just wanted as much money as possible. I gave money this big presence of like, this is everything that I need. When in reality, money is just a tool. And now that I've learned that in transition with business, I am able to make a lot more money because I'm not focused on making money. I'm focused on success. I'm focused on goals. I'm focused on building leaders within our businesses. But that's something that I just like saw at like the top of a podium. Like, hey, money is the end goal, the end factor, and I need as much of it as I possibly can. And I always thought, hey, working overtime to be able to get that pay and a half. Oh my God, I loved overtime. It was like I just wanted to hit overtime as much as I could. Um, and the reality is that, that's not what I had to do to be in the position where I wanted to be. There were other ways of not working at an hourly wage and just putting more value on your time because that's really what it is. It's like when you're getting paid 14 bucks an hour, that's you saying, "Hey, I'm worth 14 bucks an hour. My time is worth 14 bucks an hour." And that's not the same thought process that I have now when it comes to that.
I think Jim Rohn says it. You don't get paid per hour. You get paid for the value that you bring to the marketplace. And how true is that? Especially with the things that you're doing, you're
Yes.
bringing value, and people pay more for a more value. Brother, that's an inspiration too to young people out there that may follow you. Is that listen? I worked every day, all day, and I actually did too when I was 18 years old. I didn't have the same upbringing or start that you did. Matter of fact, quite the opposite. I was running away from work, but I ended up getting some serious talks from some mentors and people that I looked up to that said, Jimmy, you got to get a job. And I just went all in on it. And I ended up working every single day. And I had 3 jobs at the same time. And so
Really.
I understand what you mean when you say like, look, I was on that fast pace. And like what I actually did it for, I did a lot of different jobs because I wanted to learn something.
Mhm.
And I didn't really have any skills that I wanted to like. I didn't want to go to college at all, like not even in the least bit. And I was taught to do this to learn something. And I'm kind of anticipating you're going to have a similar story, but what what led to real estate? What led to the realm of what you're doing now? Was it in doing all of these things and just realizing that like, look, I could go to get to OT status and make time and a half, or I can just make more money. And I guess was that the allure to real estate? How did you fall into real estate?
To be honest, when because I was working all these different jobs and I was always focused on like I would check Fox 6 News all the time and just look at all everything that's going on around me. I didn't really ever stop and think and real like I all since I was working in restaurants and that was my environment all the time. I was always thinking about like, okay, business owners, they have to invest this much and then they get this much return. But I wasn't really thinking about it from like a broad perspective of like, hey, real estate professionals, they're doing a flip and they're making this much money. Or coaches and mentors are doing, this amount of stuff. They have this many students in their group and other like, and it's a whole different number in terms of what it is, which is kind of where in the position I'm in now. Um, but I guess towards your question, I'm sorry, but I am a little bit lost on this one again. Can you just rephrase the question one more time?
Well, do you, I guess how did you fall into real estate?
Gotcha.
How
So when it came to real estate, I was a big fan of Shark Tank, and I saw Kevin O'Leary's face on an ad, and it said, "Hey, free real estate event." I wasn't more so focused on the real estate side of things. I was just focused on seeing Kevin O'Leary, to be honest. I was more fascinated with just meeting him because he was on Shark Tank, and
he's
so
I love him too. I would go to see him too. I love that guy.
so I showed up to this event, and I'm at the event. There's a lot of people there. I mean, a lot of people. It was downtown at one of the theaters downtown. And that was the first time I really saw like a real professional salesman on stage. Not Kevin. I didn't even get to see Kevin that day. So I had some money saved up and I was sitting down there, and there were these guys are amazing, like sales, like Grant Cardone type style, and they're assassins. And they make you raise their hand and they're like, hey, look, offer is right now or it's done. So they were offering three different packages. But before that even happened, they give you all these different testimonials, this lady whose life has changed. And there was one specific person that they brought that I had no idea was coming. And I bought his book prior to that. I already had it. I cannot remember his name, but he's on one of those $1 million listing shows. Josh Altman from one of the $1 million listing shows. And they brought him up, and I was like, "Whoa, Josh Altman is here!" So that was like really fascinating to me because I love that show too. And they were selling three different products. They were selling a stock product that guest stocks for you, so that you don't have to do anything besides just copy their data and know when's going to go up and when it's going to go down. They had a wholesaling seminar, and then they had like a flipping type of coaching program. Obviously, that's why the event was free because they want to sell you on something. So they started selling the first one, the stocks one. Man, people rushed that stage, and I was going to sign up. Then they brought on another speaker, sold a wholesaling program. When I heard the testimonials of how people's lives have changed and all these different checks, I was like, I'm in. So I saw these people rise up, and when you see all that, obviously there's a process to that. There's a reason why they do it very specifically, and now I love studying that side of things. So everybody, a lot of people get up and start rushing the stage, and I'm like, okay, well, it's my time to shine. Without even thinking, I just got up and pulled my credit card out and walked towards that stage, signed up. So anyways, it was $1,000 to go to a 3-day seminar, went to the 3-day seminar, and they really sell you on stuff, but you can't ask questions. After the 3-day seminar, they upsell you to a $35,000 program. Now, granted, from the $1,000 seminar, I don't think I had enough I don't think I had any I had stuff that of like what my dream life could sound and be like, but I had no actionable steps of what should I do next. So I put down $5,000 towards the big program. I was gonna figure out how to. I think I had some more money in my bank account at that time. I was gonna figure out how I was gonna come up with the rest, but I wanted to at least put some down because I had a few weeks before the program started, and I had to pay it all before the program did. And there was a thankfully I read the card. There was a 3-day money back guarantee for any reason. So after that, because there's not enough time for you to do your own due diligence on that program, I went home and this was after that weekend was over. It was a 3-day weekend. And I started doing as much because I was sold on this thing. My parents were like, no, don't do that. And I was sold. And so I went into Google and I started doing my research. I couldn't find anything bad that said the $30,000 program is a waste of your money. All I could find was really like 1,500 plus reviews on them being sold $1,000 program and then upselling the 35. They didn't get into it. So I was seeing complaints about like them being mad that there was another program sold when they had already paid for one. So it was not enough evidence. So I reached out to 3 other individuals that I met at the event that were also signing up for that big program. I'm like, hey, look, here's the reviews. Check them out. Here's the URL. Go ahead, take a look. I just want to let you know I might not do it. And but I just wanted you guys to know. And so I ended up making an excuse saying something like a family emergency so I could get my money without any questions. And thankfully, I got my money back. These other 3 individuals actually got into the program, and all they were left with now that I followed up with them is $30,000 in debt. So it didn't really work. It was another 3-day seminar, and it was really, really, really bad. And from their words, they learned nothing except for upsells on softwares and things like that. So at the end, they give you certificates. They don't even put your names on them, and then they're like, "Hey, we got to go planes to catch," and then they just rush out of there. So I don't know the whole like setup behind it, but I know that for me, from my perspective, it wasn't real. So then I ended up losing $1,000. So a few months passed by, and I'm hanging out with somebody. We go out, and my girl's friend was there, and it was like 4 different girls and then me and him, and so they went in their own car so they could have girl time, and me and my girl's friend went in our car, and I had met him because he had a clothing brand, and he we were driving down, we were going out somewhere, and he said, "Hey, I have a wholesaling business. Do you want to work for me?" And I was like, "What wholesaling business? What's that?" And I had just gotten fired from my job. Mind you, every job I've either quit or gotten fired for being late. It was always for being late multiple times because a lot of times I wake up really late or I sleep past the alarm, and that's usually what ended up getting me fired. So I ended up saying, what
I love it, brother. I love it. That's great.
So he said wholesaling, and I had just gotten fired 2 days prior. So I was like, all right, like, let's do it.
Sure. Perfect timing.
Right. And so I was like, I'll start Monday. And so I did, but it was a commission only job and there was no structure. It was just him and his buddy in their house. And again, there was no structure. So I just came in and they really had nothing for me to do. So they're like, you know what? Sit down on this dialer and we're going to give you all these leads. You're going to talk to people all day. We have appointments set, so we can't be here. So things happen. So we can't be here. But just ask these people if they want to sell their home. And I was like, okay, doesn't seem that hard. So I start going through the conversations. Did a little bit. They left me at his house. They went out to do some appointments, some walkthroughs of properties, and I was supposed to cold call for them. That was my job, to be the cold caller. But they gave me no script. They gave me really crappy data. Just that's me being honest. It was not good skip tracing. It was very, very cheap skip tracing. So I wasn't really talking to a lot of people. So I was also looking up on YouTube and some tabs, how do I cold call? How do I talk to people? And then I started writing down a script on a piece of paper. I just had my notebook with me just to take notes. So I would write up a script and I was like, and sellers would hit me with different questions. And then I'd rip up the script and rewrite it. And then scratch some stuff out. And it became really hard, not gonna lie, in the beginning because it was a lot of rejection. My first call ever was the worst call I've ever gotten. That guy destroyed me. And I mean, he was yelling at me for like 2.5 minutes. I've never had a call like that ever again. But he was a very savvy real estate investor, and I didn't know my side of things. So he really dragged me through that entire conversation. So after that, I worked for them for a few weeks, and then COVID hit. After COVID, I had to go quarantine. My parents said, "Hey, you got to come quarantine. You either have to be here in the house and you can't leave, or you have to be out and you can't come back." until this is over or they find a vaccine. So, I was like, well, I want to go with them. So I went and stayed at my parents' house, and I was there for about 3 months quarantine. They quarantined for a total of 11 months without any human contact.
Holy
That,
cow.
that's a whole nother story though. So, I was quarantined for 3 months, and then I saw somebody. I was watching podcasts, studying the hell out of wholesaling for 3 months. And I saw somebody who was a mentor, and I kind of picked him up. He helped me a little, and he's like, the one thing that he taught me the most was you have to take action now, implement it now, and be consistent. So he said you have to get out of there. You have to start driving for dollars, which is going and finding properties and driving and seeing which ones are in distress. And I was like, okay. And I said to my parents, "Hey, I need to go drive for dollars. Like, we gave you a rule, you can't leave here." And so I made the hard decision of I am going to move out of this home, go live with my girl's parents and my girl. She was staying with us at that time, so we're gonna go to her parents' house where I can kind of come and go from their home, and I'm gonna start this real estate company. That was a hard decision. My parents at this point had already divorced, so my mom's in a new relationship, and she has a really nice house, and so I really wanted to be there. I was still young. I was 21 years old, and I decided, hey, let me get out of this home. So I did, and I started my real estate business. 4 days in of cold calling, I got my first lead. I made $24,995, and then I never looked back. And then I just kept scaling and growing.
Wow. $24,999
Yeah,
for calls?
995. 4 days of calling.
It's pretty darn good ROI, wouldn't you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, I probably invested like $250 into that.
Wow. Wow. So like what'd you do? Did you just like help the person like find real estate or like how do you make $24,995 by investing $250 into it? Like what's like money in, this comes out of it, I turn it into this money.
So we have a different approach when it comes to wholesaling, which is probably one of our, the business that does the absolute most. When wholesaling really is you're trying to find people that are in a distressed situation or their home is in distress, and you come in as an investor. You give them a cash offer so that they can get you they so that you can close on it in cash as an investor, and then let's just say I came up to you and I said, "Hey, look, Jimmy, I'm gonna give you $50,000 for your home, and I buy it. If we agreed on that price, then you would have sold it to me at that price, and then I just resell it. Instead of buying it and reselling it, we're just buying in a sense with our contract and then assigning. So there are investors. There's about 32,000 cash investors in Milwaukee alone, Milwaukee County. 85% of people rent in Milwaukee or some huge number like that. So there's a lot of cash investors all over Milwaukee, and they're all ready to buy more homes because one, it's a tax write off, two, it's cash flow, three, it's there's a bunch of different reasons as to why somebody would buy real estate. A lot of good reasons. So they're ready to buy properties. We already know on the MLS there's a lot of competition when you're putting on an offer on a certain property. You might have to overpay or you're paying market value. We're not. We're giving a 70 or a 30% discount. They're paying 70% of after repaired value for the home minus rehab price as well. So we're getting it extremely discounted, and then we're selling it to the investor still at a discounted price. But because we have, title takes about a week and a half to 2 weeks to pull. So we give ourselves about a month, 30 days. And within that month, we find an investor to buy us out of that home. So we don't have to have a real estate agent license because we're not selling the home. We're assigning the rights to buy the home.
Wow, that's fascinating because effectively you're not even using your own money at that point.
Correct.
And I mean, I think that it requires like, okay, how can somebody just get into this? And I'm sure that that's what your event is going to touch on a lot more detail. But I mean, effectively, you need to have those connections. You need to know a lot of different investors that have the cash to do it. And then I guess is that kind of like the network piece to it that like, look, I'm going to take this $50,000 house and like, look, I could probably get in that case $75,000 for it about. And you basically put it out there here. Here's these 30 different investors or 100 different investors or 1,000 different investors. And you say, hey, look, this is I'll sell it to you for 75. What do you want? Do you want it? And is that kind of like, is that the connection? Is that the piece to it that you help facilitate?
Pretty much, yeah, in a sense. So we're really good at data. One thing that wholesaling teaches you heavy is data. Like, I can find homeowners that are in pre-foreclosure, which a lot of people can do that, but just gonna name off a list. A lot of the people listening to this podcast can easily access. Some they might not be able to. So we run our data. We're not just going for like, hey, let me call every city on the block. No, driving for dollars is one strategy that we use where we have a driver, whether it's virtual or in person, go out and drive entire neighborhoods and look for the properties that need the most love, the ones that need the most rehab. So those are the ones that we're targeting the most. On top of that, we go for pre-foreclosures, tax liens, tax judgments, divorce, try to refinance and didn't get approved, um, 24-hour water shutoff list, bad credit, low income, lost their job, senior owners, tired landlords, which is just anybody that's owned their home for 15 years or more, probates, what else? Arrest record, so arrest record, evictions, and fire damages, and the list goes on and on and on. So there's a lot of different criteria that we can pull, and we're really good at finding the numbers, which is skip tracing, and we just kind of make that connection, find those people, and then it's just the same strategy on the buyer's end. Right now in Wisconsin alone, we have 8,000 buyers on our list that have been fully called and vetted. That we've called and said, "Hey, do you want to buy a home? Okay, what's your criteria?" Right. And all these 8,000s have said, yes, I want to be on that list. I want you to send me homes. There's a lot more that have rejected us, of course, because maybe they only bought a home in cash for their son or their daughter, or it's just a family home that they bought in cash. But we're reverse skip tracing anybody that bought on the market in cash in any zip code. We can target specific zip codes, specific blocks. If I have a certain property, let's just say I have a property on 123 Main Street. I can pull all 150 cash investment homes that were bought. I can pull all the closest 150 homes that were bought in cash and just reverse skip trace those buyers, because now I know that home meets their criteria. And that's pretty much what we do on a regular basis.
Brother, that's really awesome. And wow, I mean, especially if you're going to get into like the technical of that, I mean, that's super cool. If your event's going to go over that type of stuff, I think that's something that, I mean, this, like you were saying before, like I was sold to get rich quick type of a program. Well, that's not what this is. Does it require hard work? Well, yeah, you're going to have to make some calls. There's a lot to do with it. And it's not easy, and not everybody can do it truly, but it's still not a get rich quick scheme. You have to put your work in, and brother, that's just fire. I want to, there's a few questions that I ask everybody that comes on the program, and I want to make sure that I get these out to you. So I'm gonna get right to them. So first one is this: do you feel like you ever had a big break?
Can you describe as an example of that? Because I don't
like a big break. Like, I had this big thing happen to me, and like it was at that moment that I took off a big break.
Gotcha. The $24,995 check that changed my life forever, because the year prior, mind you, I had been working my butt off in regular jobs. The most money, even though I was working full time all the time and making what I thought was a lot of money, which is $15 an hour in most of my jobs, I was only really making 30 to 35,000 a year. And now I had made $24,000 off of one deal. Not only that, the check was in my hand. It said my company's name on it. And when I put in my bank account, nobody came after me for it. So except for Uncle Sam at the end of the year. But it was just an amazing experience. It was just what I like to call, what everybody calls proof of concept. Once you have that proof of concept, it's no longer hey, this is an ad about this, you can do this. No, now it's real to me. And I've done it and I understand the process. And now all I have to do is replicate it and do it over and over and over and over again.
I mean, brother, a $20,000 check might do that to you,
Absolutely.
especially your first one. So, brother, that's just fire. All right. If you were to do it all over again, Tony, what would you change?
That's a good question. I honestly, I think I'm in a position where I'm 23 years old right now. I have a lot of success. I have an amazing lifestyle. My goal this year is to be a millionaire, which I honestly think I'll hit before before the end of the year. Um, and so I think that there were some really, really bad things that I either done or had happen to me, or betrayals and things like that. I wouldn't change any of it because it's taught me to understand who is on my side and who's not, how quickly people can switch, who's supportive, as well as it really just shaped me to become who I am. Honestly, I don't think I'm the greatest human being ever by any means, but um I have a lot of really good attributes. I'm patient. I'm very understanding of people. I like to listen to others. I'm always a student, even when I think I know the most. So I'm a good leader. There's just a lot of different things that I wouldn't have if it weren't for all the failures and the mistakes and the bad moments. So I honestly wouldn't change anything. I'm just very excited for what the future holds and what's going to happen, at this event, after this event, in the next couple of months, in the next couple of years. And I know that I want to make a big impact and a big change. And I honestly, I don't think I would change anything just because I feel like I wouldn't be exactly where I am and it's not just about being where I am. It's also about just being who I am. I don't think I'd be shaped the way I am if it was for everything that has happened to me.
Bro, that's a fire answer. I love it.
Thank you.
All right. Was there ever a time, Tony, you felt like giving up?
Every day. Giving up when things happen that put you up against a wall, it's easy to want to give up. It's easy. It honestly, there's a lot of things that make you want to give up on a daily basis within business, especially being a business owner puts you in a position where it's no longer just about you. You're It's no longer just about you and just your employees. They have to feed their families. You're responsible for a lot more people than just the people within your organization. So there are a lot of times that I want to give up. And there are a lot of times where I have given up. There are certain things where it's like, hey, my health. I haven't really kept up on my health as much as I should, especially being an entrepreneur is just something that happens. We become really addicted to the grind and the hustle and everything that we're doing. And we're thinking about all these different goals that are ahead financially for our businesses or the impact that we can create, that we put that before anything else. So yeah, there are a lot of times, we've had properties where all of a sudden, we're expecting $40,000, payday on a specific week, and it just doesn't, it doesn't become that way, or we get threatened on a lawsuit, or all these different scenarios that happen. Yeah, but I haven't given up, and I don't think I will. And when you don't give up and you see what happens after that and see that it's okay, like there are better things to come, you just keep going.
Wow. I love that. That's that's so inspiring. I love it. All right, final question to set it up. So, Tony, there's a young Tony out there. Um, maybe their family immigrated to United States. Maybe they came over illegally. Maybe they're sleeping on a floor with 17 people, hiding their tortillas. Maybe they're going to school, not really loving it, not really like getting a 2.0 grade point average. Maybe they're just starting out there getting into their jobs, being a cook, working a couple different jobs. Maybe they're picking up the phone for the very first time and they're having some dude that's super savvy walk all over them and cuss them out. What advice would you give to someone looking to get it done?
I would say if you're in a position where you're trying to learn something, you have one of the I mean, we're in one of the best times in the pretty much ever to become a millionaire or to become financially free. Not everybody has the goal of becoming ultra rich. Some people just want to live comfortable and they want to have a nice home, a decent car, and they just don't want to have to worry about where the next, where their next meal is going to come from and make sure that their mortgage is paid off. So I would say make sure that you have I guess this is the way I would put it. If you have, let's just say you're somebody, and I'm thinking more so like exactly to your question back of who I used to be before knowing anything about real estate or knowing how to having all this different education. If I was talking to somebody who had a regular job, I would say, of course, your job is important because you have to pay the bills, because you have to take care of your family, because you have to, eat well. But don't if you have the option of, okay, can I do 20 hours of overtime and make a little bit extra, but I'm going to go out and spend it anyways because I don't know how to control my money, and even if it's all that happens when I make more money is I just spend more money, then instead of doing that, sacrifice that little piece as long as you're still good financially with maybe your 40 hours or your 30 hours for that week, and sacrifice that time. And instead of putting it into building somebody else's empire, because that's what you're doing when you're working for somebody, which there's nothing wrong when you need it because they're sustaining you. But instead of putting that time into build that extra time into building somebody else's empire, educate yourself. You don't always have to pay for a course. There's YouTube out there. There's podcasts like the ones Jimmy has with Get It Done. So there's so many different resources out there on the web for free, and even if it's not for free, there's definitely courses out there if you have the extra money to be able to invest into them and to be able to put you in a really really good position. But you have to continue to just grow and then just stick to whatever you're doing. If you're here and there and there and there, it's going to be really hard to piece it all together. You have to pick something and stick to it. That's the only way you're going to be successful. If we weren't consistent in what we do, we would not be in the position that we are right now, making hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year, in several different businesses, but doing, just doing being in the position that we are. So if it wasn't for consistency, nothing that I have would be where it is. So that's more so what I would say is also make sure that you're putting aside the time to invest in yourself. And sometimes it's not necessarily monetary value. It can be something as simple as putting in the time to educate yourself freely on YouTube and all these other resources that are out there so that you can get to where you want to be.
Brother, I love that. What a great answer. And brother, you're an inspiration to a lot of people out there. And I mean, man, keep it up, man. You are just you're crushing it in this space. And man, I'm looking forward to seeing the next couple months and years. I'm just as excited for you about it. Um, all right, this has been quite an epic interview, and if somebody wanted to reach out to you, Tony, to connect or to sign up to get onto the show, or excuse me, onto the Hustle Hard real estate event, where would they go? How would they connect with you?
So you can go to www.hustleharderclub.com. Again, hustleharderclub.com. Just make sure you use the www, or you can text us to 414-310-2116 and we can assist you. Usually when I jump on a podcast, I think this is beneficial for a lot of people in real estate. Talking to cash buyers is a really important skill. So we came up with a script of our own that we use to kind of help build that confidence, put you at a really good, in a really good position of like somebody who knows what they're doing. So if you guys want that script, just text us to that number as well, and we'll send that over to you guys. But we really hope to see as many people at that event as possible. We have some of the top industry leaders coming to give as much value as possible.
Brother, I'm super pumped to be going. Can't endorse the event enough. You should definitely sign up and go. And all right, well, I want to thank our audience for joining us today. I especially want to thank Tony for coming on. And if you've liked the show today and you've taken some value, want to support us, tell a friend, shoot this out to them. Open up Apple Podcasts, scroll to the bottom, tap that 5-star review. It takes 15 seconds, and it really does help us go a long way. Write a 5-star review, hit that subscribe button. All those things make a huge difference in helping us reach more people. Once again, I am Jimi Ryan. This has been the Get It Done podcast. Thanks so much for listening. All right, brother. So we're going to this gets edited out anyway. So hey, I just want to say thanks for coming on. This was, brother, I knew this just by watching one of your Facebook stories that this was going to be an epic interview. Brother, you're a natural at this. There's somebody some people I want to introduce you to as well. I mentioned him in the podcast. His name's Rene Rodriguez. He's a professional speaking coach. It's like $6,000 to go to his class, but it's like not one of those get rich quick things. It's one of those things of you're going to become a better speaker. I think you should do it after you do your event, but I think it's something you take a lot of value from. He has an event in Vegas. It's only $500 or something to go. In March. I'll hook you up. I'll intro you guys. This guy's big time. It's not just hey, homie hookup type of a thing. Rene Rodriguez, you should look him up, but I'll shoot you some of his information. We're going to put this together. There's some real good fire quotes that you've had in here. I can't wait to watch it again and just look at it. Primarily, I love the come up story. That is it's a fire fucking story, dude. I loved it. I'm going to enjoy listening to this too. And it comes down to this. It's not about being cocky. There's a difference between pride and fake humility. But it's very subtle. And fake humility is listen, I've been given this gift, but I'm not going to show it. If you're the best piano player in the world and somebody says, hey, could you play a song for us on the piano? And you're like, oh, no. No, I'm not that good. Somebody else can play. No, go play the piano. Oh, no. That's fake humility. And you're given a talent, and it is your duty to use that talent to honor God, to honor your creator for the gift that you've been given. Otherwise, you're just burying it in the sand and letting it go to waste. Anyway, brother, you had that shining through this whole interview, and I really loved it. I've interviewed a lot of people, and this was really great. So I have to run to another podcast that I'm actually 5 minutes late to. But brother, this was fire. And hey, man, I just want to thank you for coming on, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome. We didn't even touch on the fact that I made $500,000 in my first year.
Brother, but actually, I loved the fact that I want to be a millionaire. I like that better than saying that it's subtle. I want this. I'm striving for this. And brother, people can just watch what you're doing and they'll know that you're making money. But
absolutely. So, awesome. Thank you so much. You have a great one. Let me know any tickets for the event.
Hey, absolutely. I will. I'll reach out. We'll connect on social. Appreciate it, brother.